Today I will show you a new build for Necromancer which makes farming in the open world farm a little bit more fun. Since we just got the new essences, I thought sharing a new build to farm them can be a good idea. In this build we are not using any of the new essences, so if you are below Inferno 2 you can still use this build. Without spending any more time, let's move on to the build, but first, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to leave a like too. First, let's talk about the skills. We have our Command Golem as our main damage skill. Next we have Command Skeletons. They don't deal a lot of damage, but we are still using them to increase our summon count. It's important because of the set items we have. And we have Bone Spikes. Usually you don't see this skill in farm builds, but in this one we are using it, which makes this build a little bit different than the original Necro Summoner build. Lastly we have Bone Armor for extra little bit of damage, and we are using Soul Fire as our primary attack skill. And now we can move on to the set items. I am using 4 pieces of Shepherd to always have a high critical hit chance, plus it increases the damage of our summons. For the other 2 pieces I am using Banquet of Ice. Since we have a lot of control damage effects with this build, we are getting 15% increased damage almost all the time. And as you can see, I only have 1.4k resonance and my combat rating is around 22k. Now let's take a look at the legendary items we are using for this build. For the headpiece we have Hideous Downing. Bone Spikes now also causes enemies to bleed for additional damage and no longer charges up, increases Bone Spike's maximum charges to 3. For the chest we have Flickering Warmth. Bone Armor instead summons 3 Bone Spikes that orbit you and damage any enemies they strike. For the shoulders I am using Abnegation. Bone Spikes now also knocks enemies away. For the pants we are using Graven Bulwark. Bone Armor duration increased by 39%. And for the main hand I am using Pierce Hammer. Command Skeleton's damage increased by 19%. And for the offhand I have this one. Soul Fire now has 25% chance to explode on hit, dealing damage to nearby enemies and causing them to burn. And for the additional main hand we have our Command Golem essence. Command Golem now summons a Molten Golem that continually burns all nearby enemies instead of forcing them to attack it or stunning them. And lastly, for the additional offhand I am using Dominance from Dust. Your golem will split up into 2 smaller golems when it dies. Other than that I am using Treasure Hunter when I farm in the open world, but you can use Massacre as well. I will add my full Paragon setup at the end of the video. Now enjoy the gameplay.